I'm Michael McCord. I'm the president of the Microinsurance Center, which is managing the MILK project, Microinsurance Learning and Knowledge.
My name is Barbara Magnoni, and I've been working on the MILK project with the Microinsurance Center for the last 3.5 years.
Yes, I'm Rick Coven. I'm an insurance industry consultant. I'm the lead consultant on MILK's business case analysis.
MILK is the Microinsurance Learning and Knowledge project, and it seeks to understand in more depth two big issues around microinsurance. Is there value for clients, and is there a business case in microinsurance?
MILK is actually an incredibly important project for microinsurance. We've assumed, for the most part, that when we offer insurance, there's value for clients. We've assumed that there's a potential business case. If insurers don't do it right, or if they don't get a business case, it's because they just didn't do it right. What we've done is we've taken a really deep dive to understand exactly what happens to clients when these events occur. What money do they spend? Where do they get the money, both insured and uninsured people? And we can have a much better understanding about the mechanisms now on how people manage risk. And within that, we can understand much better where insurance fits.
Products really need to reduce reliance on other difficult mechanisms that people use when they suffer financial shocks. And that's where we start to see whether there is or isn't value. What hinders value sometimes is that either a product isn't understood or explained appropriately, or that promise isn't met, the promise between the insurer and the client. And I think also sometimes we do find products that don't actually reduce the cost to the client. So if they still have to raise a lot of money in order to finance their shock, the product can still not be valuable. I think one of the other things that we've learned about microinsurance that has a lot of potential and kind of interesting findings around it is the behavioral impact that insurance can have on low-income people. What we find is, particularly with health insurance, for example, that insurance has some benefits that other financial products don't have. Use it or lose it. That's one of our findings. When you have health insurance, you've paid for it already, and if you're sick, you're more likely to go to the doctor sooner because you've already paid for it. If you're using savings or loans, you may hold out. So we are finding that people go to the doctor sooner when they're insured. We're also seeing people behave more frugally when they're insured. If their overall costs are lower, they may be able to tighten their belt over a short period of time in order to manage the shock, rather than going out and borrowing or doing more difficult things.
So I think it gives us a really broad understanding, a broad yet deep understanding of these issues of how people manage risk. And with that understanding that you really don't see anywhere else, we have tremendous potential to offer better, more valuable products. Microinsurance sector needs to reconsider the way we offer products, the kinds of service, not just fast claims. We need to think about what are we offering? How are we effectively responding to the detailed needs of clients? How do we, if we recognize, for example, that when we offer a property product to help rebuild your house in the case of a flood or a typhoon in the Philippines, right? The real issue is that people are going to take that money and they're going to use it to rebuild their income generating capacity, right? So why don't we start thinking about how do we help them more effectively do that than structuring something that they're not going to use?
We have found that looking all over the world at very many different types of microinsurance programs, that some of them do prosper and are able to be sustainable, make a profit, and some of them aren't. And there are reasons for that. The biggest reason we think is scale. Since scale is so important, it's important then to have efficient, effective distribution into broad channels where you can reach lots and lots of people, preferably using group enrollment techniques. Very difficult to do microinsurance with one-on-one sales. The business case for micro life insurance is unambiguous. Virtually all micro life insurance programs that we examine are able to make a profit and be sustainable. Conversely, for health insurance, it's much, much more difficult. And it's our belief that without some form of government subsidy, micro-health insurance is very challenging, if not impossible, from a business point of view. And the surprise in our findings is that the cause of that is not so much the claims, the cost of the claims, it's the cost of the administration. It's a problem of being able to do all the administrative tasks on such a small amount of premium is what turns out to be the most challenging.
We've looked at the chain, the value chain. We've looked at the insurance company, intermediaries, distribution channels, and we have a really good understanding now of what makes a business case. What are the components of a business case? How effectively are people managing those different components? And how do we use those components to manage our expectations? And where there's a business case, where there might not be a business case. And so this understanding of not just the insurer, but the insurer and the distribution, not just claims and premiums, but claims and premiums and admin costs. We have a very clear understanding of what's going on in microinsurance on the business side, and that information can be tremendously powerful and helpful to insurers all over the globe. Magical Balance is that balance between the value for clients and the business case. It's been easy for us, and many of us in microinsurance have looked at value for clients, and that's been the focus. Insurers and others are focused on what's the business case, but bringing those two pieces together is what's critical to being able to make a successful microinsurance market for low-income people. And now, by having the information and the depth of knowledge that we have, because of the kinds of research we've been doing, we have a much better understanding of where you can match those two. It's important for us to look at microinsurance as really entering a new phase, both because of the information we've gathered and the level of detail we now have, plus the kind of natural evolution that we have in the microinsurance industry. It's important for us to recognize that we need to look at this industry differently. We have to think about how we redesign, how we improve our efficiencies, and a lot of the information we've gotten is helpful in understanding those things. And so I think that it's very exciting that we're moving on to microinsurance 2.0, where clients and institutions will be served much better than we have.